She was the bright, unstoppable force lighting up screens across the world. A rising TikTok star, adored by millions for her infectious energy and unapologetic personality. But one night, just after the fireworks faded, Zara Hashemi's vibrant life was violently snuffed out on a quiet Texas road. A single gunshot was all it took. What seemed like a tragic accident was actually something far darker, a deadly secret lurking behind the perfect relationship she shared with her boyfriend, a man who thought he had gotten away with murder, but had no idea how much the truth was about to unravel. It was a night meant for celebration, a night filled with fireworks and joy. But for Zara Hashemi, the rising TikTok star, everything was about to shatter. On July 5th, 2024, at precisely 12:50 a.m., just moments after the last of the fireworks had lit up the Texas sky, Zara was left for dead on a quiet road in Flower Mound. Zara, known for her infectious humor and vibrant energy, had millions of followers who adored her online persona. But what did they really know about the woman behind the screen? And what dark truth was hiding in the shadows of her seemingly perfect relationship? Her boyfriend, Larius Brownlee, a fellow influencer, was the last person seen with her. But did he really pull the trigger? Or was there something far more sinister brewing beneath the surface? Could this be a tragic accident? A crime of passion? Or was Zara's life a carefully orchestrated lie? One that ended in the most unexpected and chilling way? This is the story of a woman whose life was cut short, and a mystery that only deepens with every twist. What really happened that night? Was Zara's tragic in the result of a toxic relationship? Or was it something even darker that no one saw coming? Welcome to True Crimes Unlimited, where the darkest secrets meet the brightest minds. I'm your host, and I'll be guiding you to the most shocking, the most disturbing, and most fascinating true crime stories from around the world. From the twisted minds of serial killers to the intricate webs of deceit, we'll dive into the depths of human nature and explore the crimes that will leave you speechless. And as we unravel the mysteries, you'll be drawn into a world of intrigue, suspense, and fascination. So, if you're ready to delve into the unknown, to confront the darkness, and uncover the truth, then join me on this journey into the world of true crime. Subscribe now, and let's uncover the secrets together. Zara Hashemi was more than just a name on a screen. She was a woman full of energy, ambition, and life, someone who had everything going for her. Born into an Iranian-American family in Dallas, Texas, Zara was the eldest of 3 siblings, with a special bond to her younger sister, Sarah. Growing up in a family that valued love, connection, and loyalty, Zara quickly became a protector of her siblings. No matter what life threw at her, she was always the one who kept the family together, offering advice, care, and laughter in equal measure. Zara's larger-than-life personality made her a natural leader, someone who could walk into a room and immediately light it up with her infectious smile and warm spirit. Her journey to social media stardom was not a result of overnight success. It was a culmination of years of hard work, self-expression, and an unrelenting desire to connect with others. Zara wasn't interested in presenting a polished, perfect life online. Instead, she chose to show the real her, the raw, unfiltered moments that made her followers feel like they truly knew her. Whether it was her funny skits, spontaneous dances, or candid reflections on life, Zara's authenticity drew people in like a magnet. Her TikTok account amassed over 200,000 followers, with thousands more across her other platforms. But behind the glamorous posts, the millions of views, and the jokes that had her fans in stitches, Zara was fighting her own battles. She wasn't just an influencer. She was a woman navigating the ups and downs of her personal life, sometimes struggling to reconcile her public persona with the private pain she was experiencing. Despite her success, Zara's life wasn't perfect. Far from it. She had experienced heartbreak, faced emotional turbulence, and encountered the type of struggles that many of her followers never saw. Zara's vulnerability wasn't always visible, but it shaped who she was. But there was one part of Zara's life that she kept close to the chest: her relationship with Larius Brownlee. Larius Brownlee was a man who could charm his way into anyone's heart. Known online as Dino, he had a growing presence on TikTok with nearly 28,000 followers. He played the role of the confident, bold, and unfiltered boyfriend, always cracking jokes, teasing, and being the cool guy in their videos. But those closest to Zara knew something darker. Larius had a history that wasn't as picture-perfect as the smile he wore for the camera. Growing up in Houston, Texas, Larius had a reputation for being difficult. Friends and family described him as someone who craved control, whether it was in his personal relationships, his social life, or even in his online persona. His confidence often crossed into arrogance, his humor into sarcasm. While many admired him for his bold personality, others started to notice troubling behaviors, small signs that pointed to something more sinister. He had a way of pushing people away, of manipulating situations to make them about him. And as the relationship with Zara progressed, the cracks began to show. At first, everything seemed perfect. Zara, the bright, bubbly woman who could light up a room, had found a counterpart in Larius. They appeared to be the ideal couple, sharing jokes, challenges, and intimate moments on their joint TikTok account. Their chemistry was undeniable, and it wasn't long before they became the it couple of the platform. Fans adored their playful dynamic, the banter between them, and the genuine connection they seemed to share. But, like most things on social media, the truth was far more complicated. As Zara's online popularity soared, those who were closest to her began to notice a shift. Zara was no longer the same carefree woman she had been before. Friends noticed how she would smile uncomfortably when Larius made certain comments or corrected her in front of others. It was subtle at first, little things that seemed like nothing more than playful teasing. But over time, these moments began to accumulate, and it became clear that there was something darker at play. Zara had always been the protector, the one who took care of others, but her relationship with Larius was beginning to take a toll on her. Friends and family saw her growing more withdrawn, her confidence fading bit by bit. She'd laugh off moments of discomfort, but there were times when the spark in her eyes seemed to dim, when the happiness that once radiated from her seemed forced. Zara tried to hide it. She didn't want to admit that the person she loved was changing her, that the man she trusted was pulling her into a toxic cycle. But it was becoming harder to ignore. Then, on the night of July 4th, 2024, their relationship reached its breaking point. The couple attended a local festival in Flower Mound, Texas, as fireworks filled the night sky and families gathered to celebrate Independence Day. To outsiders, they looked like just another happy couple enjoying the festivities. But those who were close to Zara saw the tension between them. It wasn't just an argument. It was an explosion of frustration that had been building for weeks. Witnesses later described the night as unsettling, with Zara and Larius exchanging heated words that seemed out of place for a couple who appeared so carefree on social media. As the evening wore on, the argument grew louder, and by the time they left the festival, the situation had escalated. Zara tried to leave. She wanted space, needed time to breathe, but Larius wouldn't let her go. He grabbed her arm, pulling her back, forcing her into the car. Friends tried to intervene, but Zara reassured them, telling them she was fine. But was she? Inside the car, the argument didn't stop. It only got worse. As they drove down Flower Mound Road, the tension was palpable. Then, everything changed in an instant. Larius pulled over, reached for the Glock handgun he kept in the car, and in a flash, the unthinkable happened. A single gunshot. Zara, a woman full of life, energy, and promise, lay bleeding on the street, fighting for her life. And Larius? He stood there, near the vehicle, seemingly unbothered by the life-altering act he had just committed. Larius' 911 call was chilling. "I shot her," he said, his voice frantic, but oddly detached. "She's on the ground. She's bleeding." Was it a crime of passion? A moment of pure rage? Or was there something far more sinister at play? Zara's life hung in the balance, and the mystery of what truly happened that night was only just beginning to unfold. As investigators arrived at the scene, the world was about to learn the truth about Zara, about Larius, and about the shocking secrets that were buried beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect love story. But the real question remained, how far would Larius go to hide the truth? And would Zara survive long enough to tell it? The case was just beginning to unravel, and the answers were still out there, waiting to be discovered. The night of July 5th, 2024, was forever etched in the minds of everyone who knew Zara Hashemi. The 911 call came in at 12:52 a.m., just minutes after the gunshot that shattered Zara's life. Larius Brownlee's voice, frantic and tinged with panic, echoed through the emergency dispatcher's line. "I shot her. She's on the ground. She's bleeding." But there was something about his tone, an unsettling detachment, almost like he was reporting an incident from a distance, not realizing the gravity of what he had just done. Officers arrived quickly at the scene, the familiar sound of sirens piercing the otherwise quiet Texas night. The scene was chilling. Zara lay in the street outside a black Chevrolet Blazer, barely breathing, a bullet wound just above her right eye, her body lying motionless in the street, blood staining the pavement. But the real shock? Zara was still alive, barely clinging to life as paramedics fought to stabilize her and rush her to Baylor Scott and White Medical Center. Every second mattered, but Zara was fighting with all she had. Meanwhile, Larius was standing near the vehicle, eerily calm, almost as if he didn't understand the weight of what had just happened. When officers approached, he didn't resist. He didn't try to run. He didn't even attempt to hide the Glock firearm found in the driver's side door pocket of the car. Larius was arrested on the spot, but it was clear this wasn't just about the act itself. There were deeper layers to uncover. Zara's medical battle was just beginning. She was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, her body battered and her future uncertain. The world was waiting to see if the woman who had brightened so many lives with her online presence would survive, but the answers lay in the unfolding investigation. What happened on that Texas road that night? Was this truly a crime of passion, or was it something more calculated? As investigators dug into Larius' background, a chilling pattern emerged. Larius Brownlee, known to his followers as Dino, had cultivated a persona of confidence and humor online, but those who knew him in real life saw a much darker side. Past relationships painted a picture of emotional manipulation and control, traits that seemed to define his character more than his social media antics ever let on. He was the kind of man who needed to be in control, and if you didn't fall in line with his vision, you were nothing. Larius' controlling nature was evident even in the way he handled Zara. The relationship they portrayed online was one of fun jokes and light-hearted moments. Yet, behind the scenes, Zara's friends began to notice troubling signs. Small comments, subtle gestures, moments when Zara seemed out of her element, trying to brush off what was clearly emotional abuse. She would force a smile, laughing along with his jokes, but her eyes told a different story. It was clear that something was wrong. Zara had begun to confide in friends about her growing concerns, but she never fully opened up about the extent of her fear. She wasn't just dealing with an emotionally distant partner. She was grappling with a man who used manipulation and intimidation to control her every move. Zara's followers didn't see it. They only saw the cute couple sharing playful moments on TikTok, their chemistry lighting up the screen. But Zara's friends knew better. There was a growing unease, a sense that something had been festering for months, something no one could see in those perfectly crafted videos. Then came the night of the 4th of July festival, a seemingly harmless gathering of friends and fireworks that would soon descend into chaos. Zara and Larius attended the festival in Flower Mound, Texas, where the public facade of their relationship began to crack. Witnesses reported that Zara and Larius weren't acting like the happy, carefree couple their fans had come to know. There were whispers, quiet glances, and a palpable tension between them. As the night wore on, it became clear this wasn't just a minor disagreement. Their argument escalated, and when it was time to leave, Zara made a desperate attempt to walk away, to put space between herself and Larius. But he wouldn't let her. He grabbed her arm, pulling her back toward the car. Friends tried to intervene, but Zara reassured them, brushing it off with a forced smile. She didn't want to cause a scene. She didn't want anyone to know what was really going on. Inside the car, things only got worse. Larius' control over Zara seemed to tighten, and as the streets of Flower Mound passed by, their argument reached a boiling point. Zara wanted out. She wanted to leave, to find a way out of the suffocating grip of this toxic relationship. But Larius wasn't about to let her go that easily. At 12:50 a.m., the unthinkable happened. Larius pulled over to the side of the road. With a single motion, he reached for the gun he kept in the car and fired. The shot rang out into the night, striking Zara above her right eye. She had no time to react, no chance to run. The bright light of her life was extinguished in an instant, but What happened next was even more shocking. Larius, in his twisted belief, thought Zara was dead. He didn't realize that her body, though gravely wounded, was still fighting for survival. He didn't understand the strength that Zara still held within her, and in that moment, he thought he had gotten away with it. But Zara wasn't gone yet. Her fight for life had only just begun. As Larius stood by the car, seemingly unaffected, he made the 911 call. "I shot her," he said, his voice frantic, but strangely devoid of remorse. "She's on the ground. She's bleeding." The investigators would soon uncover the truth. Zara wasn't just another victim. She was a woman who had fought against a man who tried to control her every move. And in the end, it was that fight that would lead to the final twist in this tragic story. Zara wasn't dead, and she wasn't going down without a fight. The investigation into that night would uncover far more than anyone could have predicted. What had begun as a simple argument had spiraled into a deadly confrontation, one that no one saw coming. Now, the question remained, could Zara survive long enough to tell her side of the story, or would Larius get away with his crime, believing he killed her? The courtroom was packed on the day Larius Brownlee stood before the judge. It wasn't just a trial. It was a culmination of months of anguish, uncertainty, and heartbreak for Zara's family, friends, and followers. What was supposed to be a simple argument had spiraled into an act of unspeakable violence. And now, the man responsible was about to face the consequences. Larius Brownlee was formally charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and 3 counts of deadly conduct after shooting Zara in cold blood on Flower Mound Road. The charges painted a grim picture of a man who had allowed his emotional volatility to spill over into violence, endangering not just Zara, but anyone in his path. But as the trial began, the focus shifted to the dynamics of their relationship, one that appeared perfect online, but was anything but. Key testimonies came from Zara's closest friends, who courageously took the stand to share the truth about what had been happening behind closed doors. These were the people who had seen the cracks in Zara's world long before that fateful night. They spoke of her emotional distress, the toll that Larius' controlling behavior had taken on her. They revealed how Zara, always a vibrant and caring person, had confided in them about the manipulative tactics Larius employed to keep her in line. Subtle control, emotional isolation, and intimidation disguised as love. The jury heard how Zara had once whispered to her friend, "I don't know how much more I can take." These were the quiet cries for help that no one saw coming. The public, who had adored the couple's playful TikTok videos, were now seeing the terrifying reality of their toxic relationship. The evidence was damning. The gunshot wound to Zara's head, the unsteady 911 call from Larius, and the conflicting accounts of their relationship made it clear this wasn't an accident or a moment of lost control. This was the final act of a man who had been emotionally and physically manipulating Zara for months, maybe even years. But what would the trial's outcome be? The court was left with a heavy decision. If Zara survives, with the life-threatening injury she sustained, Larius would face a potential lengthy prison sentence for aggravated assault. But if Zara succumbed to her injuries, the charges would almost certainly be upgraded to murder, and Larius would find himself facing a much harsher sentence. Public opinion surrounding the case was volatile. As the trial continued, outrage swept across the nation. The heartbreaking reality that Zara had been living in a toxic, abusive relationship disguised as something cute and fun on social media was hard for many to accept. How could a relationship, so publicly portrayed as loving and carefree, turn into something so dangerous? Viewers began to recognize the hidden dangers of social media relationships, the way toxic behavior could be disguised as humor or affection. The case prompted discussions about the real risks of online personas and the pressure to maintain a perfect image, often at the cost of one's true well-being. Zara's family, especially her sister Sarah, became the voices of resilience. While Zara fought for her life in the hospital, Sarah stepped forward, leading the charge in keeping Zara's memory and her fight for survival alive. She launched a GoFundMe campaign to help cover Zara's medical expenses, knowing that the road to recovery would be long and uncertain. The campaign quickly went viral, as thousands of people rallied to support Zara. They donated not just for her medical bills, but to honor her legacy as someone who had always helped others, someone who had been there for her friends, family, and followers in their darkest moments. The outpouring of support was overwhelming, with messages pouring in from around the world, celebrating Zara's vibrant life and the impact she had on everyone who knew her. Meanwhile, Larius faced his own downfall. His carefully crafted online persona, once adored by followers, crumbled under the weight of the evidence. Social media platforms became flooded with users who revisited his videos with Zara, examining the toxic behaviors that had once seemed harmless. The truth was undeniable. His behavior was manipulative, controlling, and cruel. Larius' actions were now the subject of intense scrutiny as fans, influencers, and even some of his own followers turned against him. The seemingly perfect relationship that had once captivated millions had turned into a haunting reminder of how deception and control can lurk behind the screens we love. Zara's story became a turning point in the conversation about emotional abuse, manipulation, and the dangers of social media perfection. Her family and supporters stood by her every step of the way, determined to ensure her voice would be heard. Her legacy as a woman who embraced vulnerability, who didn't shy away from sharing her real self with the world, became a symbol of strength and resilience. Larius may have believed he had destroyed Zara, but her story wasn't over. As the trial continued and the legal battle unfolded, one thing became clear. Zara's fight for justice was far from finished. Her strength would continue to inspire everyone who followed her story, and no matter the outcome of the trial, the truth would continue to haunt Larius. The aftermath wasn't just about what happened that night. It was about the ripple effect Zara's life and death had on those around her. It was about shining a light on the dangers of ignoring red flags in relationships, even those that seem perfect online. It was about exposing the truth behind the screens and showing the world that sometimes the most dangerous situations are the ones that are hidden in plain sight. Zara's fight for survival and her eventual legacy became a wake-up call to the world. As Zara's story spread, it prompted a broader reflection on how we portray relationships online and the responsibility that comes with maintaining an image that doesn't always reflect the truth. And for Larius, the world was watching. Zara Hashemi's story is one of tragic loss, betrayal, and a fight for life. What seemed like a perfect love story on TikTok, full of playful moments and laughter, turned out to be a toxic, controlling nightmare that no one could have predicted. Behind the curated posts, the smiles, and the moments that captivated millions lay a darker reality, one that Zara's friends and family saw, but couldn't intervene in time to stop. Zara's life was brutally cut short, and while she fought for survival in the hospital, the true nature of her relationship with Larius Brownlee began to unravel. But despite everything, Zara's legacy endures. Her fight is a wake-up call, a reminder to always look deeper, to question what lies beneath the surface, especially when it comes to relationships we share online. The tragic events of that night didn't just steal Zara's life. They exposed the dangers of ignoring red flags, especially in relationships that appear flawless on social media. This story isn't just about Zara. It's about the millions of people who suffer in silence behind the screens, with no one noticing until it's too late. This case highlights a critical issue that so many people face in the shadows of their lives: emotional abuse, manipulation, and control disguised as love. As viewers, we have a responsibility to be more aware, to look for the signs, and to never turn a blind eye when we see something that doesn't feel right. The truth is, Zara's story could be the story of someone you know, someone who's hiding their struggles behind the perfect social media facade. It's a harsh reminder that things are not always as they seem. So, as we wrap up this heartbreaking journey, I want to hear from you. What do you think really happened that night? Was it a crime of passion, a moment of uncontrolled rage, or something more calculated? Drop your thoughts and theories in the comment below, and let's start a conversation. I want to know your perspective, because together, we can raise awareness about the toxic behaviors that often go unnoticed until it's too late. If you or someone you know is in an abusive relationship, remember, you are not alone. Help is available, and it's okay to seek support. No one should ever suffer in silence. If this story has struck a chord with you, share it. Share it with your friends, family, and on your social media. Let's spread awareness and make sure we're all aware of the red flags before it's too late. And don't forget, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Join us here at True Crime Unlimited, where we uncover the stories that need to be told. With your support, we can continue to share the truth, raise awareness, and stand up for those who can't. We're building a community where justice, truth, and awareness are the cornerstones. So subscribe now, and let's continue this journey together. Thank you for watching, and remember, the truth always comes to light.